Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow veterans and citizens of Manatee County, welcome to the 2022 Veterans Day Observance Ceremony. My name is Edwin Robinson, and it is my privilege and honor to be with you for the final time as chairman of the Manatee County Veterans Council. On behalf of the council and the veterans and families we serve, we thank you for attending this program. The council also wishes to thank the Manatee County Board of County Commissioners for once again holding this program here in Commission Chambers. Simply put, we live in Florida and we just don't know how to handle a hurricane. The words of the 40th President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, bring the impact of this day into greater focus. He said, and I quote, "We remember those who were called upon to give all a person can give. And we remember those who were prepared to make that sacrifice if it were demanded of them in the line of duty, though it never was. Most of all, we remember the devotion and gallantry with which all of them ennobled their nation as they became champions of a noble cause. Today is a day we honor. Today is a day we show respect. And today is a day we remember those who have answered the call to protect our freedoms and preserve our way of life. Today, we the people of the United States and we the people of Manatee County salute those men and those women whom stood to protect and defend and champion a noble cause which was far greater than themselves. Because for us to live in what I believe is the greatest nation on the face of the earth, there must be people who choose by the raising of their right hand and by the recitation of an oath to stand between freedom and chaos, to stand between liberty and tyranny, to stand between justice and lawlessness, to stand between unity and division, and to stand between despair and hope. On this Veterans Day and on every day, may we be compelled to teach our future generations that when the flag of our country flies or when the anthem of our country is sung, we stand up. We demonstrate respect and display an attitude of reverence, and we remember those devoted and gallant men and women who fought and in some cases are still fighting to bring this nation to a more perfect union and to keep this nation a shining city on a hill and a beacon of hope to all the world. We begin this ceremony today with the call to colors that will be presented by the Honor Guard of Korean War Veterans of America, Chapter 199. Honor Guard, call the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand.
Halt. Left face. Present arms.
The invocation will be given by Reverend Michael. The invocation will be given by Reverend Michael Searcy, Commander, United States Navy retired, followed by the national anthem, which will be sung by Miss Rebecca Strassner.
Let us pray. Dear God, today we honor our veterans, our worthy men and women who gave their best when they were called upon to serve and protect our country. We pray that you will bless them for their unselfish service in the continued struggle to preserve our freedoms, our safety, and our country's heritage for all of us. We ask that you bless them abundantly for the hardships they have faced, for the sacrifice they have made, for their many different contributions to America's victories over tyranny and oppression. We respect them. We give thanks to them. We honor them. We are proud of them. We pray that you will watch over these special people and bless them with peace and happiness. And all this we pray through thy heavenly name. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the fair and the home of the brave?
Honor guard, dismissed, colors. Honor guard. Port arms. Right faced. Forward march. Left, 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 right, left.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. The Manatee County Proclamation in observance of Veterans Day will be presented by Renee Medina, a veteran of the United States Coast Guard and Division Manager for the Office of Manatee County Veteran Services.
Good morning. Manatee County, Florida Proclamation. The Board of County Commissioners, Manatee County, Florida, whereas the Congress of the United States of America has declared that November 11th, 2022 be set aside as a public holiday to honor American veterans. And whereas the veterans of Manatee County embraced, through sacrifice and service to our country, the most fundamental and cherished bonds in our democracy. And whereas the veterans of Manatee County reaffirm commitment to democratic ideals by accepting it as a solemn responsibility of our survival to bear the burden of what has been, so that the tragedy that once endured can never be forgotten. And whereas it is proper to honor those veterans who have served unselfish love to God and country to preserve this great land. And whereas the citizens of Manatee County wish to express their lasting gratitude and admiration to our veterans. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Manatee County, Florida, that Friday, November 11th, 2022, shall be known, designated, and set aside as Veterans Day in Manatee County, Florida. The Board of County Commissioners calls upon all citizens, schools, businesses, clubs, and news media to pay tribute to our veterans by displaying the flag of the United States of America and by conducting and attending Veterans Day ceremonies throughout Manatee County in recognition of all of those who have served and made the supreme sacrifice. Adopted with a quorum present and voting this 11th day of October 22nd, 2022, the Board of County Commissioners, Manatee County, Florida.
Thank you, Renee. It is my privilege and honor to introduce a sincere public servant here in Manatee County and a wonderful friend to the Manatee County Veterans Council. Welcome the Honorable Shirley Groover Bryant, Mayor of the City of Palmetto, to introduce another sincere and recently re-elected public servant. Madam Mayor.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm going to take just a little license. I just wanted to comment how much I appreciate being allowed to be part of today's program. I've lived here my entire life. I have veterans throughout my family and a lot of my friends. It means so much to give tribute to our veterans, recognizing the reasons that we are free today. And we want to keep holding them up and making sure that they know, all the veterans know, how much they mean to us, how much they're in our hearts, and how much going forward is dependent upon successive veterans, future veterans. And it means so much to our community. I just appreciate you allowing me the honor to come and be a small part of your program today, even though I'm going to be introducing a very dynamic representative. At this time, I would like to introduce, and he needs really no precursor to come to the podium because he's done so much for the community, and he's really put his life on hold in a lot of instances because that's what you have to do in public service. And he's done a great job for us, and we're so appreciative of him and his loyalty to the veterans because he comes again and again and again to help us honor our veterans. So at this time, I would like to introduce the Honorable Congressman Vern Buchanan. Thank you for being here today.
I can tell you, as an 18-year-old, when I went in the service, that changed my life. I mean, I was a blue-collar kid, changed my thinking, changed my life. So I'm so appreciative in so many ways for everybody and all the veterans, but I wanted to make that one comment quickly. It's truly an honor to be here today, and I pay tribute to the brave women, men and women who have proudly served in the armed forces. Ronald Reagan said, and he was one of the reasons I got in politics because I was a blue-collar kid. And I just remember his vision was so positive. Some people live their entire life and wonder if they made a difference in the world. A veteran doesn't have that problem. They've made a difference. From every walk of life, soldiers, both past and present, have left their families and friends and sacrificed comfort, time, money, and service to our country. Veterans Day was originally set aside as a U.S. legal holiday to honor the end of World War I. Legislation approved June 1st, 1954, made November 11th a day to honor American veterans of all wars. Since our founding in 1776, the United States has fought in about a dozen different wars over that period of time, and every generation has made a difference. On this Veterans Day, let us take a moment to offer our deepest gratitude to all those who have served, living and deceased, but particularly those living veterans among us today. Our state is home to more than 1.5 million veterans, they're third most in the nation. And I have the honor and the privilege to represent a region that is home to 75,000 veterans in Sarasota, Manatee County. And I tell people, you know, one of my biggest focus is to do everything I can. If a veteran's earned a benefit, we're going to get that benefit for them. I served on the VA for a period of time. Didn't initially get on that committee, but I did shortly thereafter because I kept lobbying for it because I knew it was so important to our veterans. And many veterans don't even realize the veterans they've earned. the benefits they've earned. So that's part of our job. I'm fighting every day to ensure that these veterans, men and women, receive the care and the benefits they deserve. I was pleased that the House passed my bill to ensure veterans have information about the remaining opportunities in terms of the GI Bill, in terms of credit, and they will change schools and programs that'll make a big difference in their life. The high rates, unfortunately, of suicide and drug overdose deaths among our veterans is unacceptable. I've introduced bipartisan legislation that requires the VA to investigate the link between addictive opioid drugs and the veteran suicide. Our service members have risked everything for this country. And I want to do everything I can to fight for them and their families. That is the top priority for me. I want to thank all of you for being here today, and especially all of our nation's veterans. I want to God bless all of you here, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman Buchanan, for your service to your country then, and definitely to the service of the people of the state of Florida and to this community today. We're so honored to have you here. To define a humanitarian is to describe a person who is involved in or connected with improving people's lives and reducing suffering. Our keynote speaker is more than the definition of that word. It has been indeed his heartbeat and his life mission. A Bachelor of Science graduate of the University of Wisconsin at Madison, and later a graduate of the Defense Language Institute and the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center and School, Anthony Hardy served in the United States Army from 1986 to 1993 with 6 overseas tours of duty, which included 2 combat tours, the 1991 Gulf War and Somalia. His military awards include the Bronze Star, the Meritorious Service Medal, a 4-time recipient of the Army Commendation Medal, a 6-time recipient of the Army Achievement Medal, the Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, the Humanitarian Service Medal, and the Parachutist Badge, among many others. From 1999 until his service with the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs, he served as a congressional staff member with responsibilities including military and veterans affairs and economic development, among many others. He would serve as Assistant Deputy Secretary of the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs from 2003 to 2009, and in that role, he provided legislative and other leadership content to the National Association of State Directors of Veterans Affairs. He previously served from 2006 to 2013 on the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs Research Advisory Committee on Gulf War Veterans' Illnesses. He served on the VA's Gulf War Steering Committee from its inception in 2010 until it concluded its work 2 years later to develop the first ever VA strategic plan for Gulf War illness research. From 2014 to their conclusion in 2019, he served as chairman of the Gulf War Illness Research Project's 2 external advisory boards for the 2 Gulf War Illness Consortia located at both Boston University and Nova Southeastern University. A life member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars and the Disabled American Veterans, he has received numerous awards and commendations for his work, including from the United States Department of Veterans Affairs, the Wisconsin State Legislature, the Disabled American Veterans, and AMVETS. In his current role as National Chairman and Director of Veterans for Common Sense, a position he has held since 2014, he leads the organization's policy formulation and public advocacy efforts. It is my honor and my privilege to present to some and to introduce to others an advocate, a former public official, a long-standing national leader on Gulf War veterans' health and various veteran-related issues, a patriot, and indeed a true humanitarian. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Anthony Hardy.
Very kind introduction. Well, thank you very much, especially the Manatee Veterans Commission outgoing Chairman Edwin Robinson. Thank you for that very kind and generous introduction. Incoming Chairman Jim Clockey, where did you go, Jim? There we are. And honorable Veteran Service organization leaders, of which there are many here, selfless public servants willing to serve in elected or appointed office, fellow veterans, and all those who are here for our veterans, as well. I'm honored and humbled to be invited to speak with you today. As I thought about what might be worthwhile to talk about, I weighed one idea and then another, one approach and then another. I thought about a theme surrounding the evolving history of Veterans Day as it's presently known and Armistice Day as it once was, or the reason for the 11 o'clock on the 11th day or the 11th month, or the meaning behind the poppy on some of our lapels, and the meaning behind the moving poem about them row on row in Flanders Fields. But anyone who's attended a few of these ceremonies knows that much of that has already been said. In fact, was just said a few minutes. Some of that was said just a few minutes before I came up, and so I decided against all of those. I thought about a theme of the incredible resilience and strength of our fighting force, honoring all our veterans who hail from all 50 states, the 5 U.S. territories and the District of Columbia, from all of the more than 500 federally recognized American Indian tribes from American Indian country. Even some born in foreign countries, they serve their adopted American nation, sometimes in furtherance of their quest to become American citizens, from every corner of our great nation and beyond. But those themes of the immense diversity of the American fighting force and the experiences of troops like all of us here today, serving next to someone so unlike anyone where we grew up. Those themes, while compelling, well, I decided to forego those today as well. I thought about a theme surrounding compelling veteran data. That's an interest of mine in finding the meaning behind that's told by the numbers. Data like the ramifications of the shrinking population of now less than 19 million living U.S. veterans as just a small percentage of the growing American population. Thought of perhaps talking about the growing percentage of the roughly 1 in 10 veterans who are women, or notability of the demographic ratio data of veterans that show that the percentages of veterans who are Native American, Hispanic, Asian, and Black are rising greater than their percentages in the general population. Or perhaps surprising data like the current V estimates of 1 million living LGBTQ veterans who are equally compelled to serve since or during the silence of Don't Ask, Don't Tell and the secrecy before it. Or perhaps the long-term implications of the data that nearly 2/3 of living veterans are older than me, at 55 or older. Or perhaps even the data trends for the veteran suicide epidemic that Mr. Buchanan just mentioned that show that while the widely touted 22 per day statistic has been diminishing, the tragic veteran suicide rates per 100,000 are as bad or worse than ever, but disguised by the dwindling total numbers of overall veterans. Such compelling data could easily be a theme for many talks. But I chose against those as well. I thought about delving into talking about the lasting traumas that affect a critical subset of our nation's veterans, including those with amputations and visible wounds from their military service, and those with invisible wounds like traumatic brain injuries and PTSD, and toxic wounds, or the inspiring resilience of endurance of the countless veterans who overcame, or simply coped with, or somehow managed to continue to live with these until the gritty end. This is the stuff not just of inspiring books and movies, but also of simply everyday courage, just making it one more day. But I chose against those as well. I thought also about sharing gleanings from my own nearly 3 decades of advocacy on behalf of veterans with toxic wounds, like the roughly 1/3 of the U.S. veterans of the 1991 Gulf War, in which I served in as well, who came home from a relatively low casualty war, only to suffer from decades of government denial while battling their all too real and debilitating Gulf War illness. Or perhaps discussing the toxic wounds from the generations before exposed to Agent Orange and other herbicides used in Vietnam, but also far beyond, and which have taken far more lives than of the American troops who served in Vietnam than the war itself. I thought about talking about the toxic wounded veterans who came before them, who were intentionally exposed to atomic detonations, and tens of thousands as military test subjects to horrific chemical warfare agents like mustard gas and lewisite, who went on to suffer from cancers and terrible debilitating health effects, mostly without federal help. Or perhaps discussing at length those with toxic wounds from the vast toxic burn pits or myriad other toxic exposures. These are stories of battles against rather than for elements of the government that sent them off to war, battles that should have never been necessary. And when won, our shared victories, like the Honoring Our Pact Act recently signed into law after endless years of snowballing effort by a growing community of advocates and supportive allies. But I chose to not focus on those today either. I thought about sharing some of the details of the historic PACT Act with its dramatic expansion of VA healthcare eligibility to include more of the veterans that most everyday Americans mistakenly believed were already eligible for VA healthcare. Or the list of nearly 24 cancers and respiratory diseases specifically named in the PACT Act as presumptive disability conditions that, well, most everyday Americans had no idea nearly all were being denied by VA, with nearly 113,000 veterans claims filed in the first 3 months since the mid-August bill signing of the PACT Act. And I thought the details are of great interest to the several million toxic exposed veterans and those who love them, perhaps much less so to everyone else. So I decided not to focus on those either. And I thought about taking a stand to push back against certain veteran stereotypes that sometimes come about, to talk about the majority of veterans who served honorably and really through mere luck of the draw, they didn't come home injured, and who today they go about their daily lives in American society alongside the vast majority of civilians who never served, but these veterans tapping their leadership skills learned through military training and their superior abilities to work and live in diverse circumstances, improvising, adapting, and overcoming to achieve the goals set before them, sometimes setting examples for others around them, exemplifying inculcated character traits and values learned in the military, or simply being just good citizens and neighbors. I also thought about perhaps sharing a few carefully chosen veteran stories, like about valiant members of the World War I and greatest generations, and their incredible feats as together they liberated Europe and the world from fascism, totalitarianism, and Nazism. Or stories of veterans from the Korean and Vietnam Wars, stories of those veterans that were integral to the containment of the spread of various forms of authoritarianism that we knew as communism, or sharing captivating stories of heroic feats or daring rescues, tense captures and seemingly impossible escapes, or perhaps sharing some stories of simply enduring the unendurable in countless places and ways. These two, they're the stuff of entire volumes and feature-length films and entire miniseries. But I chose not to focus on entire speech on those either. I thought about sharing some of my personal experiences, like the stories of those I thought about who are no longer with us, as I watched the President sign the PACT Act at the White House into law this August, surrounded by veterans and members of Congress of every political stripe, unified by common purpose. Or perhaps sharing stories of some of the brave men who served with and under me in the awfulness that was Somalia as a combat zone in the early 1990s. All but one of those men younger than me when I turned the ripe old age of 25 in the middle of the deployment under austere conditions where who the enemy was never really clear until they were ambushing your convoy or firing at you. I thought about sharing perhaps some personal experiences in detail about what led up to experiencing the overwhelming fear of death as it appeared imminent for the first time, but then didn't come. Or the experiences to follow that seemed to normalize that imminency of dying to the point of killing not me, but the fear of it. One variation of many by veterans who had such near-death experiences. I thought about sharing a story of what I did to earn one medal or another, but All that seemed overly personal and self-absorbed when there are nearly 19 million veterans who served, each one doing all they were asked, and often much more, with some veterans called to duties that are the stuff of such memorable stories. Not every non-veteran seems to understand that many military experiences are simply luck of the draw, and that nearly every other service member was just as ready to fill those roles if they had been called to do so. Of course, some took on greater challenges, tougher training, riskier assignments, more periods of service, but all who served were trained from day one and ready to make whatever service necessary for the shared good of our great nation. I chose not to focus on any of those as well. And I thought about what I might focus my talk on today. It became clear to me that in just the short time allotted, I could not do justice to any of those critically important topics, any of those fellow veterans, any of those experiences, any of the battles and victories during or because of military service. And I decided, because I could not do justice to the myriad veterans left out, I simply could not do justice to the myriad veterans left out by whatever I zeroed in on and focused as a singular topic. Nor could I do justice to you, such very patient audience members who doubtlessly have heard speech after speech proclaiming the day, telling the history of the day, endless facts and figures and stories. So I chose not to dwell on any of that. I'll just say that today, of course, is Veterans Day, formerly Armistice Day, still known as Remembrance Day in other allied countries. Across our allied countries, a shared day to remember all who served, all who served, all who served. To remember the shared national strength and victory by our veterans, and the shared national learned lessons when not, to remember the shared national strength and victory by our veterans, and the shared national learned lessons when not victorious. The celebrations after veterans return home, but also the acknowledgement of darker moments for some alone with their thoughts and pain. And for us veterans on Veterans Day, the day often includes remembering the unmatched camaraderie and commitment to each other that so often persists across the many years and the many miles apart, a bond, as we know, sometimes stronger than any other. So today, as we as Americans, we remember each of you, our nation's veterans, my fellow veterans who also served, everyone brought together in service with beliefs and values we all shared that are so much bigger than ourselves. The unshakable belief in the idea of nation and the value of preserving it at all costs. The shared immeasurable importance of our first national motto, out of many, one. The values of service above self and sacrifice to whatever level necessary. Today, this day is to honor you, our nation's fellow veterans, a celebration of and a thank you to all still living who also served until you are laid to rest to then be honored on another national day, sometimes confused with Veterans Day, Memorial Day, to honor those who went on before us. So today, our nation honors each of you, each fellow veteran, who with the uniqueness of who you are and where you came from, and the strength and the commitment to step up and come together as one in service and in sacrifice. To each of you who took that oath to serve, to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to bear true faith and allegiance to the same. Today, America as a nation comes together to honor you and thank you, and to be reminded as Americans of why, in fact, our veterans served this one great nation. As the saying goes, all gave some, while some gave all. And with that, I've taken enough of your time, and I humbly thank you for your kindness in listening to this collection of spoken thoughts. To the Manatee Veterans Council, I thank you again. To every one of you who has ever cared for a veteran, a sincere thank you. And to each of you, my fellow veterans, I salute you. Thank you.
For your service, Anthony, we thank you both then and now. We salute you as well, and we encourage you to keep up the good fight. thank you for your time today. And now we get to the good part, my favorite part of this ceremony. We honor 3 veterans today, 3 amazing individuals, and for the council members, 3 friends whose passion, dedication, and contributions to the veteran community have been exceptional and worthy of this year's honors as our 2022 Veteran of the Year, Veterans Auxiliary Member of the Year, and Civilian of the Year. We thank those veteran service organizations who nominated a strong and amazing field of nominees for the council to review and make this year's selections. Our first recipient. Our first recipient served in the United States Marine Corps from 1965 to 1968, but his volunteer service here in Manatee County is nothing short of exemplary. For the past 6 years, he checks in on the families of fallen veterans to just check on their well-being, and he still meets with veterans twice weekly for lunch. I am waiting for my appointment. He is a life member of Marine Corps League Detachment 588 in Bradenton. In the past 14 years of his membership, he has served as Commandant of the League twice. He has commanded the League's Honor Guard for the past 7 years and served as the acting chaplain at funerals. For 3 years, he served as commander of the Honor Guard for the Conley Buick Bull Riding Championship, and for 6 years, he commanded the Honor Guard at the Marine Corps' signature holiday event, Toys for Tots. In addition, he has served this council well in participating in the Battlefield Cross ceremony at our Memorial Day ceremony at Veterans Monument Park. One thing that I did not know is that our recipient is an avid hunter. He is a hunter safety instructor and has been for almost 3 decades with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. He is also the area coordinator for both Sarasota and Manatee counties as an instructor on gun safety. He was awarded Instructor of the Year by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission and Instructor of the Year by the International Hunter Safety Council for the United States and Canada. He has also served the Manatee County Veterans Council for the past 10 years as a voting delegate representing Marine Corps League Detachment 588. He is a passionate patriot. He is, especially to me, an honest and loyal friend. His service, then and now, brings credit upon himself, the United States Marine Corps, and the people of Manatee County. Nominated by Minnesota Elks Lodge 2734, please welcome with me this year's recipient of the Frederick J. Graves Memorial Award, recognizing the 2022 Manatee County Veteran of the Year, Mr. or Corporal Lewis David Klein of Marine Corps League Detachment number 588.
Well, all I can say is it's been a fantastic honor to get this. I want to thank Mr. Jim and his wife and the Elks for recommending me. And I will do my best to see the council grow and be the best in the state. And I accept this award not for me, but for every veteran that has been serving and will serve. And I salute you all. Thank you.
Our second recipient today, I believe, is here because of the power of a promise. A citizen of Ligonier, Pennsylvania, and a graduate of St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, he served for 30 years as Vice President of Sales of Berry Plastics Corporation. He has been a member of Lakewood Ranch Elks 2855 since 2011. He has been a board member of that lodge since 2018. Since 2017, he has served as the chairman of the Veterans Committee, and he has been the district chairman for the Elks for the Army of Hope. They have 28 members on his committee servicing veterans and their families. The current activities are with the following organizations: Southeastern Guide Dogs, Homes for Our Troops, Veterans Village here in Bradenton, Turning Points, where I first met him, Bay Pines Hospital, Military Operation Troop Support, and of course, the Manatee County Veterans Council. In his 5 years, the donations from that Elks Lodge to various veterans groups is well over $100,000, which includes matching funds received. But all of that started with a promise he made to his father. His father, you see, was a Marine who served in Korea, and the promise that he made to him was that he would always be there to assist in and care for veterans and their families. His future endeavors are to continue to assist and support veteran programs that help all veterans in need, including members of our homeless veteran population, our transitory veterans, our injured veterans, and those that are still fighting the good fight in places across the world. In his quote, he believes it's an honor to serve as a member of the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks, and he also serves as a representative of that lodge for the Manatee Veterans Council. Nominated by Minnesota Elks Lodge number 2734, please welcome with me a civilian patriot and a wonderful friend who has kept and is still keeping his promise. Would you please welcome with me Mr. Thomas Sweeney.
Thank you. I just want to wish everybody here today, especially the veterans, happy Veterans Day to all of you. Thank you for all of your service. And I want to really kind of think of my dad, and I'm sure he'd say the same thing. Thank you very much. And I really look forward to continuing to do the job at both the Elks and also with the Minnesota Council for Veterans. And I want to thank Jim Clockey and Spike for nominating me, and I'm very proud to be a part of this organization. Thank you very much to all your veterans again. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Congratulations, Tom, and congratulations to Dave. I would also like to recognize one of our other recipients who could not be here today. Tricia Sadler furthered her education when she was granted a scholarship from the Daughters of the American Revolution to achieve her master's degree, and in 2019 she did that from Asbury Theological School with a master's in mental health counseling. She has worked with women experiencing crisis pregnancy across the state of Florida and also worked with the foster care system in Manatee County. She worked with veterans in the mental health field since 2020 here in Manatee County. She was employed by Volunteers of America and worked one-on-one with veterans to assist them in becoming employable and get them back on their feet. She worked closely counseling veterans, assisting the Veterans Village in placing the veterans into full-time housing and finding them transportation. She drove them to appointments as well. She worked so many hours beyond her allotted time as she was needed. She has a true belief in supporting the needs of our veterans. I can testify to the hard work of this young lady because when I was at Turning Points Veterans, and she was at Manatee Veterans Village. We worked together to help a lot of our veterans and our homeless population. Many of them, some of our most challenging clients, move from an attitude of helplessness to an attitude of hope by finding secure and stable housing. In 2010, Tricia volunteered to become a representative for the Manatee County Veterans Council, representing the Manatee chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. At her second meeting of the council, I remember this well, she volunteered to take over as secretary. She said she would do it just a couple times until we found a secretary. Well, we found her, and she found us, and she continues to this day in that post, even though she has a very busy schedule. That schedule includes her own full-time counseling business, and she is busier than ever. The best part is that she has been approved by the VA for counseling veterans, because helping veterans is where Tricia Sadler wants to be. She was nominated by the members of the Daughters of the American Revolution of Manatee County, and it is my privilege and pleasure to ask all of you to recognize by your applause Tricia Sadler, Secretary of the Manatee County Veterans Council and a very proud member of the Daughters of the American Revolution of Manatee County, as the 2022 Auxiliary Member of the Year. My friend and co-laborer could not be here today. She is probably tirelessly working even on Veterans Day. She will receive her honors, and she will receive her medal at our meeting of the Manatee County Veterans Council in just a week from today at Kirby's Store at American Legion, Post 24. Congratulations, Tricia. And so, as we begin to wrap this up, I would like to ask Rebecca Strassner to come back to the podium and lead us in a rousing rendition of God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
I saw some of you about ready to applaud. She is deserving of that. Thank you, Rebecca. The benediction will be presented once again. I will ask Reverend Michael Searcy, Commander, United States Navy, retired, from St. George's Episcopal Church, to deliver the benediction.
God of compassion, God of dignity and strength, watch over our veterans of the United States in recognition of their loyal service to our nation. Bless them with wholeness and love. Shelter them, heal their wounds, comfort their hearts, and grant them peace. God of justice and truth, rock of our lives, bless our veterans, these men and women of courage and valor, who, with a deep and abiding understanding of our profound gratitude, protect them and their families from loneliness and want. Grant them lives of joy and bounty. May their dedication and honor be remembered as a blessing from generation to generation. Blessed are you, protector and redeemer. Amen.
As we conclude this service today, I would be remiss as outgoing chairman of the council if I did not thank some folks who made this program possible and who've made my 2.5 years as chairman of the council the most worthwhile experience I'll ever have. To my current team of Jim Clockey, Jan Clockey, Tricia Sadler, and to the team that have influenced me before, men like Don Courtney, Gil Ruderman, Bob Green, and so many others, I thank you for giving this airman the privilege to serve one more time and the privilege to lead. Ladies and gentlemen, as we leave from this place, let us celebrate the fact that our country remains free because of the men and women who raised their right hand and swore to protect it. May God bless you. May God bless Manatee County. And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you for watching.